Robert Berdella had bludgeoned and raped Bryson and tied him to a bed in an upstairs bedroom. Bryson endured various forms of torture over the next several days. Berdella had even injected his throat with drain cleaner. Welcome to the True Crime Never Sleeps podcast. I'm your host, Larry Luis. Today we're diving into an all-new episode of Shit Out of Luck, focusing in on the Kansas City Butcher. But first, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Poddex, for sponsoring this episode. Poddex are unique interview questions and episode starting prompts in the palm of your hand. Whether you're a new podcaster or existing broadcaster looking to grow your audience or get more engagement, you're going to want to check out poddex.com. Use the code Larry21 for 10% off your order. And now let's dive right into our topic. How Robert Berdella, aka the Kansas City Butcher, was finally caught. Hyde Park, Missouri sits just north of the Country Club Plaza in Kansas City. Taking a walk or a ride through this early 20th century neighborhood is almost like taking a trip back in time. Families have lived there for generations in the tree-lined streets populated with old craftsman, Victorian, and colonial revival houses. The house that once stood at 4315 Charlotte Street was an unassuming Kansas City shirtwaist style structure with a peaked front porch. These residents of this close-knit neighborhood knew the man that lived there in the 1980s fairly well. The Chicago Tribune reports that he regularly attended block parties, began the Neighborhood Watch program, led an effort into exploring neighborhood rehab studies, and even represented Hyde Park's residents on local public television fundraisers. He also ran a booth at the legendary Westport flea market called Bob's Bizarre Bazaar, where he peddled unique items ranging from occult artifacts to shrunken heads. This ideal neighbor was Robert Berdella. You can imagine their surprise one April morning in 1988 when a man wearing only a dog collar leaped from a second-story window of Berdella's home and ran toward another house in the neighborhood. Kansas City didn't know it at the time, but this man had just escaped with his life from Berdella, who would soon be known as the Kansas City Butcher. The naked man, found with swollen eyes and gruesome red gashes on his wrists and ankles, was 22-year-old Christopher Bryson. Robert Berdella had bludgeoned and raped Bryson and tied him to a bed in an upstairs bedroom. Bryson endured various forms of torture over the next several days. Berdella had even injected his throat with drain cleaner. Bryson was able to gain Berdella's trust after the first few days of torture, enough to be taken upstairs and bound to the bed. There, Bryson was permitted to watch TV with his hands bound in front of him, while Berdella was out of the house. On April 2nd, 1988, Berdella went out, allowing Bryson to escape. Using a book of matches that Berdella had left within arm's reach, Bryson burned through his rope restraints. Not wasting any time, he then leaped from the window of the room he was held captive in. While he broke a bone in his foot during his fall, Bryson was still able to make it to Berdella's neighborhood house and finally to law enforcement. According to the Huffington Post, police charged Robert Berdella with sodomy and first-degree assault. But when they searched his home, they were shocked to find a house of horrors that could have been in the movie Hostel. They found his torture dungeon, which held numerous restraints, torture devices, and other instruments of terror that he used on those he managed to lure into the house. Over 200 Polaroid photos were found in the house, depicting the various acts of violence that Berdella subjected his captives to. Berdella even kept a detailed record of his brutality in what was described as torture logs. These diaries outlined the torture and execution of at least 6 victims. Had Bryson not made his escape, it's easy to believe that he would have been the 7th. Investigators had enough to get Berdella charged with 6 murders. He took a plea agreement with prosecutors in which he would be spared the death penalty, and instead sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In exchange for this deal, he also had to give the details of each murder. Shockingly, Berdella didn't live long in prison. The aftermath of Robert Berdella's arrest was tumultuous for his neighbors in Hyde Park. Aside from the noise and the constant traffic from law enforcement agents that were busy excavating his backyard in a search for his victims' remains, they were also being pestered by throngs of curiosity seekers. Quote, "It has destroyed the neighborhood in terms of how we feel about where we live. We're all feeling a lot of pain that he did this to us. Berdella died in prison of a heart attack in 1992. As for his residence on Charlotte, it too is no more. Kansas City resident Dell Dunmeyer bought his house and had it demolished in 1993. When the workers began dismantling the house, a reporter asked one of the workmen if he was afraid of what he might uncover. He answered, quote, "It's a strange feeling. You kind of wonder what you might find when you take a wall panel out." Nothing was discovered during the demolition, and where Berdella's House of Horrors once stood remains a vacant lot to this day. And of course, we just want to let you know, if you or anyone you know has been a victim of sexual assault, help is available. You can contact the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, their helpline at 1-800-656-4673. That's 1-800-656-4673. Let us know let us know your thoughts on the comment section below. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up on the video if you liked it. Let us know other topics you want covered. As always, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search True Crime Never Sleeps. And now on to the pod deck segment. Today's question is, why do you think some people live stream their crimes on social media platforms? For me, I think it's a way for them, they believe, to get more attention. Because once you put something on social media, it's there for life. And once you go live, you can get thousands of people to watch it, even for that 1 second. And then they just gain so much attention, and they'll always be remembered for their crimes, but also for being the one that live streamed their crime. Well, let us know your answer in the comment section below. And as always, thank you so much for watching and listening, and we will see you next time.